civilian over Google poll argument in Jos. 11 years after, Yobe lifts ban on Okada operation in 7 local government areas. Fear heightens in Kano ahead of governorship poll. Soldier guns down colleagues, kills self in Sokoto state. Court grants Doguwa 500 million naira bill, bars him from Kano Guba election. Naira crisis, queues for cash persist, customers bribe bank officials. On the Guardian newspapers we have sufficient evidence Peter Obi won presidential election, says Ohane Zindibu. GPAN calls for investigation into conduct of presidential election. Electoral fraud alert lands whistleblowers in police net. Lawyer demands income expenditure details of INEC on electoral process. Waiting game as lawyers argue CBN's compliance with Supreme Court verdicts. Troops repel a swap in Borno community. And finally, on the pen pushing, we have Dakwa Abiodun's second term ambition receives boost as pensioners, teachers announce endorsement. Terrorists kill divisional police officer, oddly vigilante group leader in Zamfara state. These are the headlines we have across the different Nigerian newspapers this morning. What do you think about these headlines? Looking at these headlines, one thing that you can see in almost each of these newspapers is the fact that people still have concerns about the presidential elections, the result, INEC's integrity, all of these are conversations that Nigerians have been having over the last 1 week, and that's what we still have across the different newspapers this morning. What are your comments? What do you think? 070-317-565-37 070-317-565-37 to be a part of the conversation. Do well to send in your text and WhatsApp messages on time, so we'll be sure to take it. And now, let me mention here as we get to talk about the messages. Say in recent times, people, Nigerians, the kind of messages that we get when we talk about the dailies, when we get to review the dailies, they've not been nice. They have not been nice. See, there's so many ways to say one thing. There's so many ways to say one thing. You can say the same thing that Mr. A or Mrs. B would say, you will still pass the same message, but there's a way you can frame it. See, to be honest, some of the messages I see sometimes, I'm like, Kilo day now, what's going on? Can we be nice? Can we be nice? Lobinko is here. Analyst for this morning is Obidien Yolariwaju Lobinko, and he's here already. He's already laughing at me. But to be honest, some of the messages I get to see, I'm like, what happened now? Calm down, calm down. We quarreling before. Calm down.
Pressure, Tiwa.
A pressure to wow. Pressure to wow. Because to be honest, all I'm just trying to say is when you send in your comments, please be civil with your comments. Because I see some comments, I'm like, wait, what are you trying to say? But just easy, easy. Everybody is having either one thing or the other to comment on or something. But there are better ways to pass your message. So all I'm just trying to say in one word is if you send in your message and it's just worded in a way that you and I know that cannot fly, I won't take your message. And what's the point having to review the dailies with Esther if I'm not going to take your message? So, of course, we're one big family. Let's just talk about these things. We're talking about way forward. We're talking about solutions. So, when you send in your comments, be nice, be objective. Just send in your comment in a civil form. That's all I ask. That's all. And we're good. All right. So, yes, the number for you to send in your comment 070-317-56537. All right, Lubinko. So, first off, the fact that you're even laughing at me when I'm talking about the messages, what do you have to say about this one? Because looking at all of the newspapers, we've had to look at the headlines this morning. One thing that stands out is the fact that people still have issues about INEC and the election results.
Good morning,
Yes.
Nigerians. Good morning, Esther. It's always
Good
a
morning.
pleasure and duty to be here. Yeah, like I jokingly said, pressure to her. And whether we like it or not, there would always be pressure. But one way to live above pressure is make sure you control situations and allow situations control you. I see that a lot of Nigerians, yes, emotions are high, very, very high right now, and there's been quite a lot of appraisal and disappointments uh, coming from the just concluded presidential election. In some days' time, we look forward to the governorship and state assembly elections. Irrespective of the pressure, one thing we should learn to always do is control situations. Don't allow situations control you. Be tacit. Don't allow your emotions overrule you. Be tacit, but diplomatic in all of your relationship. We need one another, whether we like it or not. We need
Mm-hmm.
one another. And like Yorubas would say, "Ọ̀run yabo, kò ń ṣe, ọ̀rọ̀ ẹnìkan." I know
Help me, help me, help me.
heaven is falling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to fall on just one person.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect everybody. All right. So let's just touch on some of the headlines that we have here. This one on this day newspapers. This one has coroner inquest into death of Chrisland school student to begin April 4th. So this particular one, when the story first broke out, we discussed this one on Panorama. The ladies had like different views to it and all. But one thing that stood out was the fact that this school have not really done their bit in ensuring the safety of the school. And to think that this 12-year-old is late now, Whitney Omodisola Adeniro, and the school at first was trying to hide the fact that this child was electrocuted, but when the autopsy came out, it happened that that was what it was. And now we're having to like have this further investigation into it, and it calls for consent. It really, really calls for consent because what is the point having to pay so much to have my child in school and something just happened? And to think that the mother was present at the interhouse sport um venue when that stuff happened and nobody called the mother, nobody alerted her and all. I've seen different videos of the mother having to like address Nigerians or what exactly happened. Trust me, that woman is going through a whole lot because I cannot imagine sending my child to school and someday the child, somebody comes home to tell me, oh, this child I sent to school feeling all good and all. This is what has happened. How are you going to explain that to me in writing or verbally? How are you going to say that? But the sad thing here is this 12-year-old is gone. Yes, the investigation will go
It's
on, but this school has a lot of questions to answer.
first and foremost, my deepest condolences to the
Mm-hmm.
family of the bereaved.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult way to lose one's child. I remember, was it not just last week Friday? They were having cultural day in school, and one of my girls had to dress in a particular costume, and she left all airy, all happy, and all of that. And the mom eventually went with her. So when that story came across, that was the scenario that played in my head.
Can you imagine?
Imagine something just taking a turn there. I I think Chrisland really needs to be reprimanded. At times, public relations, as it were, is even more effective based on the reality of the organization in question. That's the
Mm.
reality of public practice, corporate social practices of the organization. There's too much unhealthy news coming out from Chrisland. Too much unhealthy news. Is it that the school does not take care of the students? Is it that the school? I mean, Chrisland is probably one of the oldest private schools we
Mm.
have in Nigeria, in Lagos, and at this time, we expect they should have gotten it right. Um, it was said the girl was electrocuted where he went to get is it popcorn or something?
Mm-hmm. That was what they said.
I mean, if that's the case, it goes to show the level of awareness, even on first aid application of those around there. I mean, how did it happen? Why? I mean, so many questions as to why this should be. I mean, there's always one thing or the other.
Or the other.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's been a death recently. There's been the case of minor porn and all of that.
Hmm.
It's something to worry about, and thank God the state government is taking appropriate steps. But the truth remains, when you look at the schools, those on the boards are actually probably those in government. So it makes things dicey. So we can only just pray for the repose of the soul of the bereaved, and hope that justice is served at the end of the inquiry.
Well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed because we cannot just afford for parents to put resources together, send your child to school, and one somebody's coming back to come and give you stories about what happened and what did not happen and all of that. I really can only imagine what the mother feels like right now. Very, very sad story. Very, very sad story. All right, so let's move over to this one. In the meantime, send in your comments, your contributions 070 317 56537. 070 317 56537. Let's look at this one of the Vanguard newspapers. This one says, Polls, Tinubu lashes out as Atiku leads protest to INEC. Now, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the president-elect, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC, are at loggerheads over the conduct of INEC and this protest embarked on by PDP against the outcome of the February 25 presidential election. So we had members of the PDP, they had like this protest at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, describing the presidential poll as a charade and the integrity of INEC being on the line because it allegedly failed to fulfill its promises regarding the use of beavers and electronic transmission of results from the polling unit to its result viewing portal in due time. However, Tinubu disagrees with Atiku on the conduct and the result of the election, saying that the PDP candidate had no chance of winning the poll and should stop causing traffic in Abuja due to the protest. Now, Tinubu is having to challenge Atiku to go to court where his grievances will be heard and not at INEC's headquarters. So, all of this whole conversation, first off, yesterday on the newspaper review, we spoke about the protest and all. I mean, if you listen to the newspaper review for like a very long time, for a while, if you've listened to me on the newspaper review, anything that has to do with protest, me, I don't like Wala beg. Anything we concern Wala, just come on me at all. So I was talking about the protest yesterday, talking about how the members of the PDP might have good intentions to just go stage this peaceful protest at INEX headquarters in Abuja. But there's some other people who might have other concerns and they will just use the opportunity of this protest to just cause something else and it's going to be something bigger. Now, we've had to see videos and pictures of members of the PDP going to annex um, headquarters to go lay this complaint. And there was a letter that was also written to INEC. And in all of this, what what PDP is just trying to say is that the integrity of INEC, in their opinion, has been compromised, and the result of the presidential election shows this. What do you think?
Um, anyway, when it comes to, like I always say, when it comes to politicians, banters, I'm really never um, moved by them.
Okay.
Politicians would always do what politicians should do to remain politicians, which is what they're doing. But then we need to look at the nitty gritty of the matter on ground. Yes. Coincidentally, unfortunately, you are not someone who enjoys protest, who likes
Me,
protest.
okay. I
But
don't like Wala
the
big.
truth remains, protest is actually part of the ingredients that makes a good society, a normal democracy,
Hmm.
a mature nation. The ability to carry out protest peacefully is one of the things that we would regard. I mean, all over the world, there's protests in the most developed world, in the underdeveloped world, in the developing world. You get to hear about protests, but what's the essence of this protest? For there's a narrative going around. One of the things that strengthens our democracy and our judiciary is the aftermath. What happens in the aftermath of elections. And what happens could be in various forms. It could be an opponent congratulating the winner.
Mm-hmm.
It could be an opponent disagreeing with evidences, as it were, uh, why the opponent, the winner, shouldn't be announced winner.
Mm-hmm.
And the right way to go about that is by going to the court of law to protest that. But in our country, we get to hear, let it slide, let it slide. It's now time we join hands together to build the country. One of the things we need to also join hands to build to do together is making sure that we enthrone justice at every point in time. So if anybody feels cheated, up to the Supreme Court, that person has a way or a right to prove that he has been cheated and possibly get their mandate. Uh, we as the voters, we have played our parts. And one of the reasons these people went all out to plead for our votes is because they want us to believe we can entrust ourselves to them. So,
Mm.
for instance, you see someone who was almost lynched and who still went out to
He came back to
eventually
vote.
cast the vote.
Mm.
And if such a person feels cheated, the trauma of that would linger forever and it might linger for other generations in terms of creating political apathy. Now, the person for which she had gone out to cast her vote is telling her, your vote is not wasted, your vote is fighting for it. That resurges a kind of hope in her. So, this is we must just look for a balance in the midst of all of those things and make sure that the peace of the country is not threatened. Whoever feels they want to go to the court of law to seek redress for a cheat, we should encourage them to as a people. Um, all of it invariably, how the cases come out also strengthens, also tells more about our judiciary. And
Mm.
in the end of it all, we realize that all of these factors together contribute to what we call building a great nation.
Mm. All right. So there's this message from Valokachi, and Valokachi is saying PDP should stop this unnecessary distraction in the name of peaceful protest. It will not make any difference. They should rather seek redress through the court. I do not see PDP going any far anyway. They got it wrong from the beginning by allowing the five governors to walk away. They should accept their fate and prepare again more intelligently. God help Nigeria. Mm. Okay, we have another message here from Becky Nikeja, and it says members of the PDP should know better. Having to go on the street protesting like children is not the way to go. So after this protest, would INEC just change the results at their office? I'm not sure PDP members are having to think about this thoroughly. Hmm. Okay.
I think at times when protests are made such as this,
Okay.
it's not because it's going to cause an upturn in what decision had been made.
Okay.
It's probably just to register a grievance. And like I said, when it comes to protest, as long as it's peaceful, we should never deny anybody
Okay.
protesting for whatever they feel they should protest for, as long as they had gone through the confines of the law and are doing it within the ambit of the law. So it's just to register their grievances. They've said they're also going to the court. So maybe they want to do that yesterday. They've done it. They've made their statement, which is also good for the country
Mm.
because we've seen international observers, local observers,
Mm-hmm.
virtually everybody, virtually all the political parties, even the winner and the person who did not win,
Mm-hmm.
they've all complained about the integrity of INEC.
Mm.
And do you know what makes it disappointing? Is the fact that had this been an election in 2019, the disappointment wouldn't be this much. But for this 2023 election,
Mm.
INEC came all out reassuring Nigerians.
Like
You
it's
see,
going to be different.
like it's going to be totally different.
Mm.
And you
Okay.
see, it's a norm to see politicians act like politicians. They want to rig election, they want to do this, they want to do that.
Mm.
But if the system that INEC puts in place that had cost the country a whole lot to
Mm.
put in place
Okay.
would be seen as compromised, then that means there's a lot of questions to be raised.
Hmm.
And the question is, are we seeing compromises? The answer seems absolutely yes. Across the Federation, we realize that election results were not uploaded. Even when you go on the portal, you see a lot of, I mean, I've done that randomly. And you realize that you see a lot of results that obviously are doctored, where I mean, you are seeing results where there are cancellations, where you understand
Mm.
modifications and all of that. And the trust we have in the election in itself is not the trust in politicians, is the trust in INEC.
INEC. Okay.
And if INEC has disappointed that trust. Especially for the people, the only way to go about it is just to register their displeasure, probably through protest, like we are saying. But it just must be a peaceful protest, and it must be timely. It must have a time frame. It should not be one that would cause disorder in the country.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, we still have some more messages here. It is 5 minutes to 8 on Women Radio, WFM 91.7. And this is the newspaper review. The newspaper review is where we get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers and we get to analyze them together. Send us your comments, your contributions 070 317 565 37 070 317 565 37. Listen live at the website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app to listen live WFM 917. My name is Esther Alaribe, and our analyst for this morning was speaking to Obide Olarinwaji Lobinko. Send in your comments. Let's hear from you. We have this one from Additional Wasioni Kurudu, and it says, "Good morning to you guys in the studio." On the national population, I don't think we're up to the numbers that we always claim that we are because INEC said more people registered this year election. But what did we see after the election? The percentage of voters dropped, despite claims by INEC that we have more people that registered this time. Mm. God bless Nigeria. And he also says, on the Supreme Court judgment on the Naira redesign, I would advise Nigerian lawyers and the federal government to make sure that this court order is obeyed to the letter. Because if you listen to ordinary people in the country, they say the court has no more power more than the president, that there is much belief, which is not true. Because the Supreme Court has more power than anybody, including Mr. President. We must put everything in the right place. God bless Nigeria. Okay. We have this one from L. Kennedy Victor, and he says, "Good morning, WFM. Let me lend my voice to the motivation that came from you, Esther and Lubinko. There is opportunity for us everywhere. Life is a game that tests our tenacity, which means it is okay to fail when you're still young, and it also means that you can be a success. Depending on what you do with your life today, it will determine what you'll become tomorrow. Therefore, do all within your reach to make a statement in your generation, especially when you're still young." Thank you so much, El Kennedy, for this words because they also speak to me as well.
I
Thank
think
you.
I'll just add to that. I mean, don't just don't just look at when you're so young,
Hmm.
irrespective of your age. Uh,
Keep pushing.
keep pushing. Mandela, KFC, that's Sanders, and all of that. They made their statement at their old age. As
Yeah.
long as you're breathing, never give up. Keep pushing.
Yeah, keep pushing, keep pushing. Thank you so much, El Kennedy, for your message. All right, we have this one from Israel from Ogijo, and he says, "Good morning. Please do not see this as religious." Okay, okay. So this one you're having to put a disclaimer already. Pastor and two sons kill. In Nigeria today, if it's a cow or a person from a particular region who is killed, the police and the army would have intervened and arrested those involved. However, why is it that whenever such evil is carried out, the police and the army will not be sent by the governor to enforce curfew? This is madness that will make somebody turn into a witch and become a demon just in broad daylight. Within the country, we see them killing soldiers, policemen, and women, ordinary citizens, in the most brutal and painful manner, showing the videos of how they kill Nigerian citizens. How come this element cannot be fished out the same way Nnamdi Kanu was fished out the other time? Anyway, okay, Israel Gijo. So Israel having to send this message, Israel, whatever it is that you have to say, I think this is just you trying to frame it in a nice way. But even your nice way, I'm still having to like pick your messages. Yes, we get the point of what you're trying to say, but you know already some of these words are not you cannot totally say because you see it in your own view, in your own opinion that way. It might not necessarily be what it is. And having to take comments like this out there is just going to create more tension and chaos amongst the people. So please, if this is how you feel, please don't channel this energy to somebody else. Trust me. You might be able to handle it, but the next person might not take it well. Yeah. We don't need all of this. We don't.
Yeah. As long as we want to remain Nigeria, we need to intentionally spin narratives
Mm.
that speaks Nigerianness. Something is going on right now, especially in Lagos, that hurts so much. I mean, all of a sudden, so much tribal sentiments is being wiped up.
Mm.
And we as a people, we should, I mean, I think the generations have grown and had mixed to the point where we should be thinking nationality
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
more than we are thinking regionality now. The fact remains, when they're sharing posts, when they're sharing money, when they're sharing, we are not. I mean, the narratives of regionalism and all of that is not there. The Nigerians, we just need to smarten up. We need to know that this tribal, ethnic, religious sentiments being wiped up, they are intentionally wiped up most times for political gains, not for any other thing.
Mm.
The moment the election is over, you realize, I mean, we we
I'm
we
seeing some of the messages here and I'm smiling already
we need
because
to open our hearts to
mm,
love. We need to open our hearts to love. And the truth remains, you necessarily don't have to be the receiver of love, but
mm,
ensure you are always the giver of love.
mm.
That way, you're the one healing the world.
Well, all the same, I always want the love that I give out to come back. So if I'm giving you love,
Yeah,
please give me love in return, please.
yeah.
Please. It's
But
not one-sided something.
make sure that you are that person that espouses love
Yeah, true,
always.
true. I agree. I buy into that because at the end of the day, just your kind gesture or your words of kindness from one person to the other might just be all that that person needs that day to just pull through that
And
day.
you can imagine the ripple effect of that.
Definitely. All right, we have some more messages here. Evangelist Shegun Idiji says, "Bless you, my sister and brother in the studio. This is a really precarious state of our nation. News inundated with disastrous items, people overstressed and high tension. But thank God Nigerians are elastic, bloodletting all over, cash crunch, fuel brouhaha, hunger, anger, government losing cohesion, and all of that. Lord, please rain peace on our dear nation, Nigeria." All right. We have this one from Rosenja Mutiu, and it says, "Good morning, dear presenter. Good morning to you as well. The cashless policy is not a problem, but the inability of the CBN to make available minimum cash required by the law available, as many people have been doing transfer for large sum of money. When we have incompetent people at the helm of affairs, every policy of the government will be poorly implemented. Bad followers, as always, will never produce good leaders. Nigeria will survive. Allah bless Nigeria." Okay, we have this one from Val Okechi, and he also says Chrisland must accept the autopsy report that confirms the electrocution of the late child. It is obvious that the school failed to put in necessary safety measures in place. Their attempt at covering their track and lying to the family that the child slumped and died is as insensitive as it is irresponsible. The Lagos state government should please do the needful. God bless Nigeria. Okay. This one is from Barista Ugo Osuju in Festac, and he says, "Good morning, WFM, Esther, and the analyst." Yes,
Good
good
morning.
morning to you. And he says, INEC seeks variation of court order granted Labour Party presidential candidates for inspection of election material used during the last presidential election. Smacks of complicity and mockery on the judiciary as regards abuse of court process. Clear conscience, they say, fears no accusation. Even the blind saw and what the empty bath served on Nigerians on February 25. What INEC and its chairman must be contemplating now is how to look for account on how to give us account of how the billions of Nigerian money was wasted on this huge charade of an election. As it is an elementary law of contracts that where you know that you cannot perform a contract, refund the said form. Reconfiguration of the election material come March 11, 2023 remains a willow as the animal had passed and the bush is still shaking. I submit. Okay. All right.
That's a Shakespearean.
Mm. So,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I am happy that I read somewhere this morning, or was it yesterday, that some people were calling on INEC to give account of how they
There- There's,
spent.
there's, um, there's this headline here we're still going to look at.
Oh,
There's a lawyer
good.
who's filed a suit on that one already.
Yeah. I mean, accountability is something we need to take more serious in our climb. We are always talking about generation of so much
Mm.
funds and all of that. We're always talking about how much is being expended on one contract or the other or project at a time. But just to the ordinary eye, when you look at this projects, you realize that you can't match value to money. And the fact that some people are coming up to say, yes, INEC should give accountability of what they've done,
Mm.
it's a good one. And talking about the beaver story, it's quite surprising. It is expected that this should be anticipated moves.
Okay.
I mean, even ab initio, that of course those who feel not happy with the outcome of the elections, they
Mm.
will probably want to request for ways to build up their case. I mean, for facts. And these facts can only be generated from INEC and all of that.
Mm.
So
All right.
INEC saying we need to reconfigure,
Mm.
does it mean
The
all
data will be
the
lost.
data would be lost?
Mm.
If the data is lost and all of that, you know, I don't want to push that narrative, but
Don't push it.
I want to believe that INEC is an unbiased umpire,
Mm.
but more and more the body language we are getting is making us have a rethink, and I
Okay.
don't think that's good enough for our polity.
Mm.
Um, the nucleus of this election, or of every election under this new electoral act, is the beavers.
Mm.
So if anything will be protected the most is the data on the beavers. So now going to court to stop the inspection of it, and not just stopping the inspection of it and making a request to reconfigure it to, the factory setting,
Mm.
probably just for the coming elections. It makes the feeble mind to shake. I mean, even the strong mind is shaking. Like,
Mm.
we are trying to put integrity test
Okay.
on the system,
Mm.
and the system, like Yorubas will say, "Unyoboro, unyoboro." I mean, it's not so encouraging. It's not so encouraging.
Mm. All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts this morning. It is 7 minutes past 8 on your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. This is the newspaper review. We get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers, and we get to analyze them together. Yes, we've been taking your messages. Keep them coming in on 070 317 56537. 070 317 56537. We get to review the dailies here from different angles. You send in your messages and we take them analyzing the dailies. You can listen live at the website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app to listen live WFM 917. My name is Esther Alaribe and our analyst is Obide Yolarawaju Lubinko. So, looking at some of the other messages we have here, this one from Additional Wasu says, on PDP protest, it is unfortunate that what PDP is doing is unfortunate and it is campaign after election. When we told Atiku Abubakar that how can a national chairman of the party be greater than five governors, Atiku stood his ground that the chairman would not go anywhere. Well, these are the consequences that you get. And he also says, on the sentiment on what is going on social media within Lagos, this is what you get when some people talk having respect for other people or their host. This is what we get. Okay.
You see,
Okay.
we
Just
need
okay.
we need we need
Just okay right there.
a reorientation of our people. The Bible says the heart is the Lord's and the fullness therein. But God gives it to some people. And wherever you get to, I'm also being sensitive of what I'm saying now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Yoruba guy. But wherever you get to, what value are you bringing to the table?
Mm.
Whether we like it or not, Nigerians, we've been battered across different lines based on our religion, based on our tribe, based on our ethnicity. And our leaders should, whoever our leaders are, they should be pushing for healing balm on all of
Mm.
these wounds rather than
Okay.
exploiting it more to their own advantage. Um, in Lagos, for instance, for everybody contesting in Lagos, they're all Yorubas.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be clear on that. At the end of the day, because we are pushing, some people are pushing
A particular
a
narrative.
particular narrative, which I even say are selfish, because it's created intentionally to be divisive. We should. I mean, for those of us who still have an open heart and an open mind, we should make efforts to correct these narratives.
Mm.
We are at the point, like I said, we're in a generation now. In some 20, 30 years ago, an African president always feel privileged to enter into the chambers
Mm.
of an European president. But in this generation, an African president who happens to be in tandem with the generation is already even friends with the European president before either of them becomes. And that is why we can see that today we have an Indian prime minister in the UK. We have an exchequer who is a Muslim. We have an Hindu, and all of that. The fact remains, the world's ecological system is one that works in such a way that all the variables, irrespective of the diversities they bring to play,
Mm.
must must be cohesive to achieve one purpose. And what's that purpose? Empathy on humanity. But in a situation where we intentionally create these narratives,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the president elect is not married to a Yoruba person. He's married to a Niger Delta, to an Ishakiri person. Is that narrative being spewed? So we need to, beyond politics,
Mm.
we need to think first about our country and what makes a people of a place is their birth. Aside their birth, we need to throw away a lot of narratives
So
for
first,
us to
that
grow.
that particular
We
conversation,
need to throw away a lot of narratives for us to grow as a country.
mm, that particular conversation over, I think they started off, I think on Thursday or so. I've been following up on it on social media.
It's been on immediately after
The elections,
the
yes.
election, and I think these narratives have been spinned just to
I think it's just some people who've not been able to see beyond their nose
no,
that is
it's
just raising this
no,
because
it's
it's
intentional.
nothing.
And the reason why I'll tell you it's intentional and it's been sponsored from the political circle is because I belong on some platforms and I see people that push these narratives and I'm shocked.
Well, I mean, as well,
It's
there's
a
some people.
narrative,
There's some people who have put out words too.
pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a narrative pushed. And now I'm also appealing to whoever is feeling God by these narratives, irrespective of your tribe. We should not match our violence with violence.
Mm, okay.
We shouldn't match violence with violence. We need to, at times, I know the thirst for power, the hunger for power makes a lot of people do a lot of crazy things, as it were. But I want to advise that, I mean, the world has a way of taking care of itself. That much I know.
All right.
But please, let's. This is not this narrative does us more harm than it does us good.
I mean, the narrative is dead on arrival. Trust me, for somebody like me, it won't even fly at all, at all, at all.
It's not
Because
flying
we
for
have
you.
people contributing their quota to different regions where they find themselves and all. And you wake up one day and want to segregate or
I,
marginalize
I,
people. Mm-mm.
I saw I
It's
saw
not something
I
to
saw a
encourage.
post on Facebook yesterday. It's happening in Ondo State, Ondo East. There's this particular man contesting for House of Assembly
Okay.
in Ondo State. And then that I've seen that poster earlier in the day that imagine in Ondo State, look at the candidate this political
I
party
really don't know what people are on
is
about at
is
this time.
and an indigene of that state did a long narrative. Like, look, guys, we need to stop this. This man is someone who is well known across this state. He's well known. He speaks our language. He speaks and you can imagine that kind. And do you know the funny thing is the person who was actually passing this message across is one strict ardent member of another political party who, beyond this politics we play, we need to look for ways to build the fact that all of us are praying that our children should leave the shores of this country
Mm,
and probably take up leadership positions and all of that.
mm.
We need to s- intentionally imbibe that culture.
All right.
The eight our parents lived with against one another. my
We don't
mother
need it.
my mother was telling me the other day, but Larry, what's your problem upon what this tribe had done for you? What
It's not
exactly is
a
your problem?
tribal
Hold on.
thing.
Do you know why I told her? I said, Mommy, what is your own problem? Have you forgotten that this project, so, and so, I got it from this particular tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Have you forgotten your own husband?
Mm,
The project that was supposed to probably be his first big break.
mm,
It was a Yoruba man, a fellow pastor that boycotted it. They were both ministers. Look, the fact remains, as humans, we
mm.
all have our fallibles and infallibles. And thank God for logic for those of us who were able to make it to the walls of university. The fallacy of division, it's something we should intentionally and cohesively fight against. The fact remains, as much as I mean, for those of us who have that fear of even relating with other tribes, does it mean you've never been betrayed in your life? Who are the people that have been betraying you?
That conversation is
We
way, way, way bigger
need
than we think it is.
to
Mm.
please change this narrative.
All right, we have some more comment here. This one is from Mr. Innocent in Wawan. He says, "Good morning, WFM presenter and Lubinko." Yes, good morning. He says, "We are all at peace today because there was no uprising in the nation as a result of the scam called election. People have the right to protest, and no one should call it childish nor causing traffic in Abuja. They're advising people to go to court. The court, as an arm of government, is just now a playing tool in the hands of the executives. Funny, whenever a thief looks into your eyes and says, go to court, he knows that his father is the judge. This is an African proverb. God heal our land." Okay, we have this one here from Olu from Okearo, and he says, "Good morning, WFM team. There is nothing wrong about protesting about the outcome of the election. However, the most disciplined way to go about this is to go to court, not going through a process that can be hijacked to create more problems. PDP caused their Waterloo by the arrogance of allowing Obi, Kwakwanso, and the G5 to walk away. Definitely, they will reap bitter consequences, one of which is the loss of the election." Okay. Evangelist Shago Yedeji says, "Esther, this is my prophecy. The joy of a baby delivery occurs at the zenith of agony. Heavy downpour is at the instance of very dark cloud. The beautiful butterfly emerged from the ugly caterpillar. No agony, no glory. Nigeria would emerge as the most enviable country after all of this storm. Amen." Amen. All right.
We
So,
need to stay positive, irrespective of how downcast we feel.
all
We need
right.
to stay positive.
We have some more comments here. El Kennedy Victor says, "Ensure you are the one that is giving the love and be ready to receive love as well." Good postulation. But power hungry people are psychologically sick people who usually suffer from inferiority complex. They feel wounded deep within themselves. Consequently, they want to be empowered to convince themselves that they are something more than what they really are and to convince others that they should be taken rather than just extraordinary people. And remember, this is the commonest desire to be extraordinary in an ordinary world. All right. Thank you, Kennedy. Val Okachi says the plan by INEC to reconfigure the machines is just an attempt to destroy the overwhelming evidence against it with regards to election rigging. There are better ways to go about these things. INEC should stop trying the patience of Nigerians. They have done enough damage already. And he says the tribal and ethnic politics being played in Lagos is very, very disturbing. It shows we have not evolved as a people. This is what our wicked politicians have used over time to keep us perpetually in bondage while they continue to have their way. The narrative is really dangerous and capable of causing an implosion that may consume the nation. Nigerians must not allow this narrative to fly. Wisdom is profitable to direct. Okay, all right. We have this one from Additional Wasiu. It says, on the cashless policy, it is unfortunate that this policy is good, but it is making a lot of business cripple. Okay. Mr. Innocent from Wawa says they were stopped from having their own nation. They have been told that, okay. So, Mr. Innocent from Wawa, this your message. You know where this message is going to. We don't need this kind of energy. I mean, all the talk that myself and Lobinko have been talking about, Mr. Innocent, haba. We don't need this kind of energy. What we're just going to keep talking about is the need for national growth,
Unity.
national interest, unity, peace, and love. Because when people try to sell this kind of narrative, I look at people who were born in a particular place. For instance, I know some people that they're from a different state, but they were born in some other states and they've lived like in different places all through their life. They have like mixed character and
Orientation.
different values they've picked up from different places, and they've just come to realize that I am somebody everywhere that I go to and I can fit in. Now those kind of people, what do you want to do to us? You just
which
want
which
it's
which is good for even the growth of the
we're
country.
having to sell this kind of narrative. No, no, no. We really need to do better. And it is disturbing that this is coming. I really, really hope that the security agencies will be on their toes ahead of the elections on Saturday. Because some of the comments I've seen on certain platforms, I'm really wondering that I hope that people don't go out and try to get physical and all. Because why are we selling this narrative? You see some people carrying bold placards with certain words on it, and we are wondering how. Take me through
You
your
see,
line process. How do you
you
put these
see,
things together?
you see, just like it happened in Rwanda, I think some things needs to be criminalized in Nigeria. This tribal, ethnic,
We don't need it.
religious narratives. We need to. It should be taken out of us. I mean, look at my children in their class, as young as they are. They have virtually all the tribes, and then they get back home. They hear me talking negative about the other tribes.
Mm-mm,
We can't continue this way.
mm-mm, not
It's
at all.
time we start mending. And the truth remains, those we are spewing these narratives for, they intermarry. Look at all of them. Look at all of them. I mean, the governor of Osun State is married to an able woman. I mean, we
Aside,
need
aside
to.
marriage, you go to different social
No,
gatherings, you go to
that's
schools,
no. I
different.
mean, the basics of a country, of a community is the family.
Mhm.
So if the families can be built with different bricks of these different ethnics,
And we
why
still have
should we?
concerns about it.
Why should we now? I mean, bring it out. The children growing up in such family, how, I mean, what identity should their dual identity should be something of pride for them.
Hmm.
I have friends, even those who experienced the Holocaust, which is probably about the worst attack that had happened to humanity. I'm talking of the Nazis against the Jews and all of that. We still see even the Jews intermarrying the Germans. At
People are
the end of the
moving
day,
on. We're talking
we
about.
need to move on. We need to do away with these narratives.
Hmm,
I imagine pastors in church, they stand on the pulpit. On that same pulpit, they have assistant pastors from other tribes and everything. And they come and they preach love on the pulpit. And deep down inside them, they have that disdain for the other tribe. Deep
mm-mm.
down inside them, they go back and they are saying, "You can't." That's exactly what I was telling my parents. Look, you have served God so diligently all your life, but do you know you can lose heaven for this? Because Christ Himself
Hmm.
came to the world to do what? To preach love. And what is this love about? Love is about extending love to every human you come
Regardless
across,
of tribe, race,
regardless
or
of tribe or
whatever it is.
anything.
Yeah. I'm
Jesus,
glad.
when
I'm
He
glad
came
we
to
had
the
to
world,
touch on this
Jesus, when
morning.
He came to the world, the fact remains Jesus' ministry was more impacted even on the supposed Gentiles, not the Jews. He was originally not accepted amongst the Jews. Now look at the whole world. The love that is radiating the world is because of that one singular person who took us into the fold.
All right, Lubinko, thank you so much. And this one from Damien says everyone should be on alert as the attempt by INEC to reconfigure Beavers could indeed be to alter some information that could be used as ample evidence. All right. Thank you so much, Lubinko. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure. As
Thank
we
you.
go into the polls, Nigerians, please go vote your candidate of choice. Vote for a better country,
All right.
not for a stronger tribe or a stronger ethnic.
Hmm.
That's
All
it.
right. Thank you so much, Lubinko. And yes, it's a wrap on the newspaper review this morning. It has been an interesting episode. Yes, we're saying things the way they are for no reason. Don't let anybody trying to incite you against your neighbor or anything because of whatever sentiment or whatever or however they feel. Do for yourself what you need to do. And if you are that person that shares that sentiment, you need to do away with it. Keep an open mindset and address people the way they come and not try to marginalize people or discriminate against people because of their tribe or something. I mean, we are Nigerians, one Nigeria. If you travel abroad and you're treated unfairly by somebody from another country, you probably will not feel a certain way. But by somebody in your own country and you feel uncomfortable, there is a problem there, and we really need to stop all of this. My name is Esther Alaribi, and this has been the Newspaper Review on Women Radio 91.7. Join us at 5 minutes past 9 as we get to discuss with ladies from different geopolitical zones. Again, one Nigeria in brotherhood we stand. Good morning.
Have you been a victim of corruption? Do you want to report how corruption affects you and your community? Send an SMS or WhatsApp message